Today, I want to tell you a story about two horses named Prince and Pete. Here's a picture of them. So, the horse that's kind of closest to us in this picture, his name is Prince. And then the horse in the back, that's Pete. And it's kind of hard to tell because it's a picture without a lot of scale, but these horses are huge. They stand about 6 feet tall at the shoulder. And in this picture, they're only 3 years old, so they're not even as big as they are in real life now. Now they weigh about 2,000 pounds apiece, which that's a lot. They're big horses. But the story of how I got to know Prince and Pete is a really cool one. So it all started when my dad, who runs a summer camp, decided that the camp needed to buy a team of horses. So we started looking, and we looked around Northern California, which is where the camp is. And as you can imagine, it's kind of hard to find horses like this. They're not everywhere. You have to look really hard. So we looked around California and we just didn't find any that we liked. So it came time for me to go to school up here at Walla Walla. So I was up here at Walla Walla when one day my dad called me and he said, "I think I found some horses, but they're in Ohio. Would you like to fly to Ohio with me to see the horses?" And of course I said yes. That sounded like a lot of fun. So we booked our flights and we flew to Ohio. And we got there and we got a rental car and we drove out into the country and it was beautiful. And pretty soon we came across a little Amish farm, which is where the horses were. When we got there, the family was waiting for us, and two of the sons took us out to the barn. And it was this big, beautiful barn, and it was built into a hillside. And when you walked in, there were just rows and rows and rows of these big, beautiful horses. And so my dad and I, we sat there, we watched while the two brothers went in and got the two horses out, Prince and Pete, and they put all their gear on them, and the horses were very patient. And we watched as they took them out to a wagon and hitched them up, and then they let us drive them around the property. And this whole time, I was watching them to make sure that they were healthy and that they worked well together. And there was one thing that I noticed that I really, really liked, and it was their ears. Their ears were always turned back to listen to the brothers, to listen to their trainers. And that's really important when you're working with animals that big. You want them to listen to you. So we really liked the team and we decided to buy them. So we made a deal and then we waited for them to be shipped out to California because you can't just walk a horse on a plane. We had to wait for them to be loaded on a trailer and driven out to California. So by the time they got to camp, I was done with school, so I got to start working with them. And something really cool happened. So when they first got there, the horses, they would always do what I asked, but you could tell they weren't really sure who I was and if they could trust me yet. But over time, they started to learn the sound of my voice, and they started to learn that they could trust me and do what I asked without hesitation. In fact, I have a little video here of them coming over, listening to me to see if I have any treats.
Hey. Oh, my boy's house prince. Hey. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Since then, Prince and Pete and I have been on some pretty crazy adventures. We've been out to the deserts of Nevada, where we got to drive along the same parts of the Oregon Trail that the pioneers used. We've been up in the high Sierras in the mountains. And when you get up there, there aren't really any roads. You have to make your own roads, and you have to be careful as you drive around big rocks and go down big steep hills. We've been in places where there's cars and loud noises, things that are pretty scary to horses. But we've been able to do those things because Prince and Pete have learned to trust my voice. And they've taught me a really valuable lesson about learning to listen, and especially about learning to listen to God's voice. Just like it took Prince and Pete a little while to learn that my voice was a voice they can trust, sometimes it takes us a little practice to hear what God's voice sounds like in our lives. So this week, I hope that you guys can take a little time and practice listening to God's voice.